everybody, welcome back to my channel. And tonight I want to give you a story time that's a little, in my opinion, a little darker than the usual typical story times that I've been doing. And I guess one of the reasons why I find it dark to me is because I was going through a kind of a dark and confusing time at that point. At least at one of those points. I'm talking about two different trips to one destination. And it's weird that each time I went, we all encountered bad, horrible weather. But anyway, I'll start out with I guess with the first time that I went. And the destination that I have in mind for you tonight is Cancun, Mexico. And it's very close to the Yucatan border. And so it's right into the jungle. And the first time that I went with my parents and my aunt and my uncle, and my cousin and her husband, I was in my early 20s. And I remember at that time, this is why I remember it as a very dark period for me, a depressing time. I was going out with a man who was 25 years older than myself, and it was a horrible relationship. I was very young and naive. It would have been the very next relationship I had after my first boyfriend. And it was horrible. As a matter of fact, I remember that while I was breaking off with this 25-year-older man, my first boyfriend came to see me from California. And he was at the front door, and my mother opened it, and I was sitting at the kitchen table, and I had an inkling that it was the guy who I was breaking off with. So I quickly got up from the chair and went to the side of the kitchen near the sink and the window where he couldn't see me. And he thought that I had seen him. I hadn't seen him when I jumped up. I just heard the knock on the door, and my mother said, "Oh, hi, what are you doing here?" And I thought, oh, he's here. But it was the wrong him. I got mixed up, and so my first boyfriend saw me jumping up off the kitchen table. I was sitting having coffee, and he thought I had seen him, so he was pretty upset and depressed. He came in and he said, "Oh, you saw me. Why did you try to take off?" I said, "No, I thought you were someone else." And then I told them, what I had been going through. But I don't want to get into that. That's not part of tonight's story. Just to give you a little bit of background, it was a horrible, horrible relationship, guys. And when my parents and I and my other family members went to that destination, I can't for the life of me remember. I have a feeling it might have been spring or summer. I'm not too sure. But it was a horrible time for me. And I have a feeling that my parents were trying to distract me and trying to cheer me up. They knew what was going on, and they couldn't say much to me because I was very sensitive. And so I can't for the life of me find any of the photographs either. I don't know what I did with them. It's so weird, guys. The story I remember coming across them a few weeks back, and now I can't find them. So go figure. But anyway, so we went to Cancun, and over there are so many ruins all around the resort. And so what we did one day with my aunt and my uncle and my mom and dad and my cousin and her husband, we booked some tours, some day tours. And I remember my cousin was not feeling well, and we were worried that she would get sick on the road because the heat was incredible. And so, I'm sorry, I'm itchy. And so she was getting that bubbly feeling in her stomach, and oh, I was so scared for her because I know what it feels like to have that feeling, and you have to go on a trip. Um, in the bus. We were on a bus. I remember that. We were on a bus. It was stifling hot. And let me just say that I really liked it there. I thought it was beautiful. I wasn't sure about the local people. They were, uh, to me, I found them very different from other local people from various other parts of Mexico. So it was, I found some of them to be very aggressive and very harsh and really, I don't know, it was weird. I didn't feel comfortable around them. It's not all of them. Some of them were great people, but I remember being very miffed by the way that they were. And so I just stuck with my family. I wasn't into nightclubs at that point. I know that I didn't become interested in nightclubs until I was about 29, 28, something like that, or maybe 27. It went up and down. It went up and down. I was past my mid 20s when I started to go to the nightclubs, or maybe around 26, 27. To tell you the truth, I can't remember. But in those days, I had no inclination to go to any nightclubs. And so you know, with my mom and dad, I was okay. I was comfortable with everybody in the group. I love being with my family. And these family members also went on to buy a home, a small home, very close to our condo in where my beach house was abroad. And so we all liked doing the same kind of things, you know, going to the same places. That was very comfortable. And those guys, even though I was depressed at the time, they were good days for me. I look back on it with fondness. But okay, so here we go. Back then, I was very much, how do I say this? I was very shy, withdrawn. I was still trying to get over my first boyfriend, and now, you know, this other gentleman, 25 years older than myself, was giving me the runaround. So I didn't have the personality of an outgoing, sociable person at that time. I was very troubled. I was troubled and not happy. And so the trip was a good distraction, but it made everything that was going on in my life seem even worse. And, you know, I'm trying to think what I did with those photographs. I know there were quite a few of them. I don't know where they are. It's bothering me now. I hope I can tell the story properly. So, anyway, I remember one morning we were by the pool, and the beach was right down the steps. And it was a beautiful, clear, warm, perfect day. Not a rustle of wind in sight, just beautiful weather. And so I remember about 10:30, 11 a.m. in the morning, as we were lying by the pool. We were very close to the restaurant of the hotel, of the resort where we were, and it was a beautiful resort. I forget what it was, but it was beautiful. I think it had the word or the name Maya or Mayan in it. Anyway, I saw all this hotel staff come running out, and they were taking all the chairs that were, you know, there was an indoor dining room, and then there were outdoor chairs as well with tables. They were Russian guys. They took everything in, everything in. And so we got scared. We thought, you know, what's going on? And then somebody said, oh, we're going to get a bad storm. I said, okay. we're gonna get a bad storm. And then I remember we took a cab. The day did turn very, very gray, but it wasn't raining yet. So we took a cab. We went out shopping in the center, in the little center that they had there. And we didn't go far, but we did take a cab. And I don't remember if we took one cab or two. I can't remember. I can't recall. So anyway, we were in the store. We were shopping around. Some of us were here. Some of us were there. The cab was waiting. I remember that the cab was waiting. And all of a sudden, guys, it started to pour. Like really, the drops were this big. And I thought, oh my God. So we all waited inside the doorway of this store. And in the meantime, my uncle, my dad, and my cousin's husband went out to the cab. And you know what happened, guys? The cab that was waiting for us started to roll down the street. And it was sort of stuck. It was sort of stuck. It wouldn't go. He couldn't do anything. The water was so high on the street. We had never seen anything like it. And this cab was on the street. And we thought, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're here stranded in the middle of the street, and the roads were all flooded up to here. And so my father, my uncle, and my cousin's husband went out to the cab. And so a couple of them went into the front of the cab where the hood was, and the other two went where the trunk was. Guys, and this was hilarious. If you know the laws of gravity, you'll know that when I say they were both pushing from each end, and of course the cab wasn't going to go anywhere. And so I remember my mother, myself, my aunt, and my cousin, we were in stitches. We were in stitches. And you know what the cab driver was doing? Meanwhile, he was reading a newspaper. And here, my father and my uncle, and they couldn't figure out why this cab wouldn't move. They were trying to get it out of that it was like a sinkhole. I don't know how it happened, but guys, the whole street was at least taller than me, the water level. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, needless to say, I believe that finally we managed to hail down another cab somewhere else. Somebody was brave enough to go somewhere else and try to hail one down. And that's all I remember, guys. I remember that we were stranded in the hotel for about a day and a half because of horrible, scary weather. Very, very, very scary because the hail, it felt like a bunch of basketballs, pounding on the roof. It was scary, guys. It was very scary. And so, okay, that wasn't too bad. So, a day or so later, I believe it was not too long later, we went on this tour through the Yucatan jungle. So we would be leaving one province to go into another, or one state, I should say. And so I remember it being so disgustingly hot and so humid. And I thought, oh boy, this better be worth it. I was really not into that tour. I didn't know what I was going to encounter in the jungle other than a few ruins. And I wish to God I could find the photographs. And so we arrived there. It was quite a drive. I think it was about an hour or two drive. And it was scary because over there, guys, they can stop you for whatever they want. They can raid you, your car. I think it's not so bad now. I can only speak for what we were going through at that time, that it, at that time, tourism was just starting to blossom there. So it wasn't a very gentrified place to go at the time, although we had a fantastic hotel and everybody there was pretty much great. So, we didn't have any problems of that kind. But so we did go into the jungle with the tour, and there were other people there, of course. The tour guide who was with the bus driver, and you know, getting there, I felt claustrophobic. I I just I just I became speechless. I didn't talk to anybody. I just stood there and took it all in very silently. It was not the kind of vacation that I had had in mind. I had no idea what to expect. And so some of the sites, they're very popular. We went to two or three of them. And I remember at one of them, the sacred well, there was a sacred well where they used to, this is so cruel. And I instantly regretted going on the tour as soon as I heard about this. I can't imagine what people find so interesting about this, except that how those poor women must have suffered before they actually got to that well. So there were human sacrifices there. I don't like to talk about this, but um, they were at that well, and what was happening was that these maidens or princesses, whatever they were being forced to drown in those wells. I think it could be that they were probably drugged, or I don't know, medicated. I don't know, guys. But you don't force a person to a well to fall to their end, um, unless they're on some other world. You know what I'm saying? Nobody would do that willingly. And it's been said that there were so many human, male and female human bones found in the well, in the water caves underground, and it's disgusting. They found so many artifacts that were from other parts of the world, all there, and so people think that they would come there to sacrifice. Oh, maybe they ended up there against their will. Ships. Who knows, guys? Who knows? I don't like to think about it. And I was so, I wouldn't say furious with my parents for bringing us there. My father should have known better, but I know at the time that he was trying to promote tourism there, and so we wanted to understand what it was all about. Well, I didn't want to understand. I didn't want to know. I thought I was thoroughly devastated. I was ruined, guys, for what I was going through at home in my personal life. To be confronted with a harsh reality like that, I absolutely blocked it out. I don't know how I survived that day. It was a horrifying, to me, I remember it was a horrifying trip. I, I just, I don't think I've ever been that devastated or disappointed in any destination as I was with that one. And I'm not talking about the physical beauty of the landscape or anything like that. I didn't find the jungle very beautiful. As a matter of fact, one of the most terrifying points of that day tour was the tour guide was standing around talking, and we were in a ring around him, and we were all standing there listening to him. I was maybe a little off to the side because I'd had it. Plus, I was very hot, and we were able to buy a cool drink, And I went to put it in my mouth. There were like 50 bees on top of it. Oh, I threw it away. Oh, guys, nothing went right that day. Anyway, what happened was, as the tour guide was talking, his back was to the jungle. And everybody else was sort of to the side. And I was standing right there, like not close to the jungle. I wouldn't. But I was standing parallel to, you know, that pathway that leads you right into the jungle. And guys, the ground was all clay. It was all red. The earth. It wasn't earth, it was clay. It was incredible. I'd never seen anything like it. And so I remember standing there, probably pissed off or bored, not really wanting to blend in with the rest of the group because I wanted to get out of there. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I didn't want to hear any more about it. I didn't want to see any more sights. The ruins were interesting enough, but you know, when you go and see things like how they played with this stone ball and whoever lost would lose their life, that, guys, I don't find that interesting or enjoyable. I find that devastating. And to think that there's a culture like that, that had a history like that, I feel very deeply for the people who are still confronted with that sort of limitation. I don't know how else to, you know, describe it. But anyway, as I was standing there hoping that the group would hurry up and close off, I saw this panther, this jaguar, just racing towards the opening of the jungle, toward the site. And I just stared at it. And I remember, guys, this cat, it was completely black, and it had these green gold eyes that just pierced. This cat came to a sudden stop and looked at me. Okay, there were other people there too, but I was in the direct path of his vision. He stopped. All of a sudden, he started coming toward the group. I won't say me, but racing so swiftly, and he wasn't making a sound. And I thought, oh my God, here we are in the middle of the afternoon and we're about to be attacked. And then all of a sudden he came to a dead stop again at the edge of the jungle, and then he took off inside the other way. He turned around and just made a detour. And I thought, oh my God. And then, guys, I was sick. I had it. I wanted to get out. I didn't care anymore about the history, about the stones, about the Mayans. I wanted to get out of there. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel right. And I didn't think it was a very safe setup to have people coming there and wildlife coming out at you. No, not for me. Not for me. If I ever went back, if I ever did go back, which I did, I would never go back there, and I didn't. So anyway, guys, that was that trip. That made such a horrible impression on me. I'll never forget the feeling finding out what those poor girls had to go through in order to pacify their families. And I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. It's so heartless and cruel. And I can't imagine any culture being that heartless to their own kind. You know, maybe prisoners of war, that's one thing, but your own kind, your own family, your own community, members of your own community? Why? I don't understand it. Maybe they were different. How were they chosen to die? You know what I'm saying? I just can't get with that culture. I can't. I know it's not like that anymore. That's not what I'm saying. But you know what? It was absolutely horrifying to think about that. And so, guys, what happened was, years and years later, when I started to work in my father's office, I remember there was another girl working there. She was just graduating high school, and so she was younger than myself. And by then, I was in my early 30s. I had just graduated, so maybe I was 30, 29, 30, something like that. And I remember we had already sold the house and we were living in this condo. And I remember one day in the office, a discussion came up. Why don't I go away to Cancun with, her name was Sabrina. She was such a nice girl. And I know that right now she's married with children. And the last time I spoke to her, she was still trying to work within the travel industry, but it was very hard. It's hard now. A lot of travel agencies, they realize, they don't need the middleman too much anymore. So, but she was such a nice Italian girl. And I remember she had just broken up with a guy and she needed to get away. And her friends, I think it was March break. I wasn't in school at that year. I had just graduated the year before. And so she asked me if I wanted to go along. And I said, well, are you sure it would be okay? Because you got friends there, maybe, oh yeah, come with us. And it was great, guys. It was great. I liked her. I got along very well with her. Now, what happened is, before this, and before we purchased a condo abroad, I went away with another girl in the office who ended up marrying the brother of my father's business partner. And what happened was we stayed in a hotel and the resort where my beach house would be, and they locked me out. They locked me out. There were two women and myself, I think. I don't think it was three of us. I think there were two other girls and myself. The other woman had a husband who ran a business in the same mall where our travel agency was. So we were all, I won't say friends because I know now that that wasn't true. But Sabrina was never on that trip. That was before she began working with us. And so I remember, guys, I was livid. I was locked out of, when you go down to breakfast and you say, okay, I'm going to, get some stuff on and get better washed when I go back upstairs. Well, I never got to do that. They locked me out. They were there with 3 sailors from the port that just got shipped in. And they took my key. What happened was, one of them asked me to borrow the key because there were only 2 keys and there were 3 of us. And I remember I had a key, and so she took she took a copy, and that was it. I couldn't go. I couldn't pee. I couldn't get washed. I was there, you know what, guys? Until 9 p.m. in the lobby waiting for them to come out. I had to call my father at home in the city and tell him what was going on. And I was locked out. And because I knew that they were there with these men, and one of them was engaged and the other one was married, guys. So anyway, I was the single one, the fool. I think there were 3 girls. Now I remember. One of them we met there. Oh, I hated them all, guys. I don't like people like that who are married or engaged and then they go out with other men and they lock themselves. I don't want to judge, but at the time, I didn't care what was going on. I just wanted my hotel room. I paid for it. So anyway, that's why when I went away with Sabrina and her friends, they were so nice to me. That never happened. That never happened. Um, but again, guys, one morning we were, sitting by the pool, and the same thing happened. All these waiters and bartenders came running out, and they took all the chairs, and I said, "Oh no, we're gonna have another storm." And then I explained to them that's what they do when they have a storm. And so it was bad weather, guys, very bad weather for about a day or two. And then it cleared up. And over there, the water was perfectly turquoise. And you could see right through, you could see the pebbles, the fish. It was beautiful, guys. I love Cancun. However, you know, some of the local people were weird. The children were nasty. I found it very unsettling. There's something about that location that it never warmed to me. And so I remember these people, by that time I was really interested in going into the nightclubs. And so I was with a bunch of young kids, and they were all into the nightclubs. And me at that time, I looked about as young as they were. They were all about 20 something. They weren't children. They were young adults. And I suppose I was, in a way, a chaperone. But I remember we went to a nightclub one night, and this waiter, I asked for a rum and coke. Guys, I swear there was this much coke and this much rum. I said, "Oh my God, guys, take a sip. I'm not drinking that." And they all got drunk on that one drink. My God. Anyway, it was fun. It was nice to be with people who were party animals and who were bigger partiers than I was, who were bigger drinkers than I was. I liked being with them because it was comfortable, it was secure. However, when we got dressed to go to the nightclub one night, I think we had gone to dinner and then come back. They were so sweet, guys. I was always there. They always included me. I know that I did have one problem with one girl who kept drinking all my water, all my bottled water. Like, I tried to buy a few at a time, but it was very frustrating. But that was the only thing that went wrong. And I have a feeling, guys, that she would fill it up with tap water. So I had to seal it, keep it sealed, and drink it warm. I couldn't put it in the fridge. So that was the only thing. It wasn't a big deal. But they were sweet, guys. They were very sweet to me. And, one night we got dressed to go to the nightclub. And something weird happened. We left the hotel. It was a bus. They decided to take a bus. Sometimes we took a cab, I think. And me, I'm not big on buses, not even here. So you can imagine in that resort if I was comfortable in a bus. But I figured it's going to be okay. We were all together. But you know what, guys? There was nobody else on the bus when we got on. And I immediately realized that something was off. Because all the buses that we have been seeing going back and forth, we knew where the nightclub was. It was just up the street. All the nightclubs were on one strip, most of them. And so every bus that we had seen was always filled with people. And so I think some of the others noticed too that it was a little weird and creepy that there was nobody on the bus. It was almost like it was staged. Almost, I don't know. But anyway, we got on the bus, we sat down, we told the bus driver we're going there. So, "Oh yeah, we're going to stop in a minute. It's going to be right there." Didn't he start taking off up a mountain? really fast. And then I said, oh my God, I stood up. And they saw the panic on my face. Yeah, I had to make them alarmed, you know what I mean? We were being kidnapped. We were being kidnapped. And so there was only one of him and about, what, 9 of us? So luckily there were at least 4 guys there. And 4 guys, about 3 or 4 girls, plus me. And I thought, oh my God, we're finished. We're finished. You know, this is not going to end well. All of a sudden, the guys made a circle around him. They were going to get him off that chair. They were going to get him away from the bus and out of the wheel, and they were going to turn the bus around and go back to our hotel. And they started struggling with him. And I thought, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? We're all alone here. What if he has a knife? You know what I mean? And I mean, a civilized bus driver, I don't think he was a bus driver. I think he was some kind of, I don't even know. A bus driver wouldn't have done that, not unless he was crazy. So he said, okay, I'm sorry, I'll turn it around. I missed a turn. Yeah, right, you missed a turn. We were screaming at you. Where are you going? You missed a turn. Guys, you would never believe how scared I was that night. And I thought, oh my God, never again. I don't even think that we ended up going anywhere. And then the next night, we didn't go anywhere. I think we all got so scared. I was ready to give up. I said to myself, you know, okay, if I can just go to the nightclub for a little while the last night, I don't care. I don't want to go out anymore. I was just scared. I was scared. And so you see what I mean about people in these resorts? Now, where my beach resort was, nobody would have ever done that. At least not in the normal run of things. Nobody would have ever done that. I was always mostly safe. And I think I took the bus once or twice at my resort, and I never had any situation like that at all. You know, I mostly walked though. So anyway, guys, those were my terrifying adventures of Cancun. And but never for the life of me was I ever so scared as when I went to Cancun, because normally when I go away, I'm always pretty secure, you know. But first, the jungle, the terrifying weather, and then, you know, somebody who wanted to kidnap us, a big group of, can you imagine what would have happened if there were more than him? What was he thinking? What must he have been thinking? I can't imagine. And so, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed some of this. I know I didn't really feel comfortable talking about it, but I wanted to make everybody understand that not every trip is going to be enjoyable. And thank goodness I was in company that I really liked and trusted. Now, I didn't know too many of the other people very well, but I did know Sabrina very well. We've been working together daily for 2 years, a year and a half, going on 2 years. I remember working there after I graduated from Teachers College in my late 20s. So she was very comfortable with me, and I was very comfortable with her. And we had so much to talk about when we got back to the office, and it was fun, it was this and that, but we did have that scary situation. And I remember we were telling people about it, and thank God, guys, that I had 9 witnesses. Thank God that we got out of it. I don't want to think about what would have happened if somebody else showed up, you know, with a machete or something. You know, you have to think of these things because it was late, around 9 o'clock at night, very dark. And so you know, when you go out to the nightclub, it's not 7 p.m., right? It's going to be around 10, 11 o'clock. It was scary. I thought for sure we would never get to go back home. For a good 3 minutes there, I thought for sure we were a goner. We were all going to be a goner. And so be very careful when you go to countries where, you know, it's isolated and you're in the mountains and you're in the jungle. Be very careful, because even the civilization around it, you never know what can happen. Make sure that you have plenty of people around you. Go with a group, or go with your family members, or go with a group of friends that you know very well. Don't get yourself into situations that you won't be able to get out of. And if you do go anywhere alone, even if you're traveling with a group, cab it. Don't take a bus, you know, especially at night. No, maybe during the day it wouldn't be such a bad thing, but don't take a bus. You know, it's not worth it. Anyway, I've rambled on and on and on quite enough. So I think I'm going to sign off here. And I want to thank everybody for watching and listening. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye for now.